Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Namaste to all gadgeted officers, IAS, IPS, doctors, surgeons. Science is not just about discovering the unknown, it is about pushing the limits of what is possible. Every new technology, every scientific update is a reminder that progress begins with curiosity and courage. If we keep learning today, we can shape a better tomorrow. So let's dive into this week's science and technology updates that are going to be very important from UPSC, BPSC, SSC, banking, defense, and other competitive exam. So we are going to cover 30 updates from 8th to 14, from 8th to 14 September 2025, which is totally science and technology related. At the I want to just give you a reminder that don't forget to watch tomorrow's video where I will complete the last part of current affairs from 1st to 7th September 2025. Together we are building a strong foundation for your exam and your future. So let's dive into the current affairs, which is 30 updates, which is totally related with science and technology. First news is about the AIMS launches AI mental health program. Program name is Never Alone, which is offering 24 into 7 support, screening, intervention, and follow up via WhatsApp. It is a program which is an artificial intelligence based mental health app. So, All India Institute of Medical Science, New Delhi, revealed a new AI artificial intelligence based mental health program, and program name is Never Alone. So, this program is a reason for initiating the rising concern of student suicides and mental health awareness. Students suicides and mental health awareness. So, this initiative target the rising concern of student suicide. It was launched on World Suicide Prevention Day. The program offers round the clock online, offline, virtual, and offline consultation through web based app accessible on WhatsApp. So it aims to provide affordable, personalized, and secure mental health screening for students across India. What is the reason of launching this AI mental health program Never Alone? India, because reason is that India faces a severe mental health crisis with over 1.7 lakh suicides among students reported in 2022, which is highest in more than 5 decades. Young adults between 18 to 30 accounted for 35% of this death. So suicide is a leading public health issue globally, with the WHO reporting one death every 45 seconds worldwide. Low and middle income countries bear 73% of this burden of this suicide. In India, mental health problem, stigma, and lack of awareness also contribute to a large treatment gap, with 70 to 80% of affected individuals not taking help. Features of this program, or the program name is Never Alone program. Never Alone programs personalized mental health screening at an affordable cost of just 70 paise per student per day for institution with 5,000 or more students. So it costs only 70 paise per student. It is designed to be highly secure and accessible via WhatsApp. So it is very easy to use, and a student can access consultation both in online mode and offline modes. So this app focuses on screening, intervention and post intervention follow up to ensure continuous care. So this service is currently available at AIMS Delhi, AIMS Bhubaneswar, and the Institute of Human Behavior and Allied Science, Sahadra, with plans for expansion. About implementation and support, education institution can subscribe to the program. Any institution can subscribe to the program by approaching AIMS Delhi. By approaching AIMS Delhi, all AIMS institutions nationwide will receive the service free of cost through Global Center of Integrating Health, a non-profit initiative which is supported by AIMS alumnus Dr. Deepak Chopra. So, this Global Center of Integrative Health aims to promote integrative health and personal transformation, which help in improving programs' reach and impact. So there is a need of addressing stigma and treatment gap. Mental health stigma remains a major barrier to treatment in India. Despite the availability of mental health professional, there is a main. Despite the availability of mental health professional, many students avoid taking help due to fear and social stigma. Never Alone program aims to normalize mental health discussion and reduce stigma through easy access and and the data should be confidential. The program also marks the importance of public health approach to suicide prevention, including increasing trained mental health professionals and addressing social and economic stressors that trigger impulsive suicides. There are many significance. The program specifically targets college and university students, which is a vulnerable group with high suicide rates among college and university students. By integrating artificial intelligence and digital platforms, it ensures timely intervention and continuous supports. It is a feasible for large education institution because it is cost-effective model, potentially transforming mental health care accessibility in India's youth population. Second news is a new Aspergillus species discovered in Western Ghat. So recent research by MACS Agharkar Research Institute in Pune has identified two new species of black Aspergillus fungi in the region. Region is Western Ghat. So these species are named Aspergillus dhake falkhari and Aspergillus patricia wilstri. The study also, what is the name of these two species? Black Aspergillus fungi. Name is Aspergillus dhake falkari and Aspergillus patricia wilseri. The study recorded the first time. It was first time in India. In India, two other black Aspergilli fungi found in the Western Ghat. A Aculeatinus and A. Brunio violaceus. So this discovery marks the rich fungal diversity. Aspergillus is a fungi, so this discovery marks the rich fungal diversity in the region. That region is Western Ghats. Western Ghat is an ecological, sensitive, and scientifically important hotspot for many flora and fauna. About Aspergillus nigeri. Aspergillus nigeri, commonly called black aspergilli. Black aspergilli is called Aspergillus nigeri, which includes fungi with wide ecological industrial roles. They are important for formation of citric acid production, food fermentation, and agriculture. So, despite their importance, detailed studies on these black Aspergillus fungi from the Western Ghats have been limited until now. Till now, it is limited information. Now, recent research methodology and taxonomic approach. The team used a polyphasic taxonomic approach, integrating morphology and molecular integrating prophysics taxonomic approach, which integrating morphology and molecular phenology. So they analyze multiple genes, including the gene is ITS, CAM, BEN-A, and RPB2. So maximum likelihood phylogenetic means evolutionary history. Phylogenetic methods confirm the distinction of new species. So this rigorous method is considered the gold standard for fungal identification worldwide. Characteristic of Aspergillus dhake palkhari. Aspergillus dhake falkhari, it grows rapidly with pale to dark brown spores and yellow sclerotia. Its conidophores are uniseriates with 2-3 branches. Conidia are smooth and ellipsoidal, differing from related species that have spiny spherical conidia. Now, next characteristic of Aspergillus, two species are found. The first one is a Aspergillus dhake falkeri, and second one is the Aspergillus Patricia Wilsri. So it shows fast growth and produces abundant yellowish orange sclerotia. It has modest spore formation which help in the reproduction, asexual reproduction, and ecuneulates conidia. So its conidiophores branch into more than 5 columns. It produces acid on a specific growth mediums. So it produces acid on a specific growth mediums. So about we have learned about that there is a phylophasic taxonomic approach which integrate morphology and molecular phylogeny. So they analyze multiple genes including ITS, CAM, BEN, RPB2. So a common practice in mycology means study of fungi where researchers analyze DNA sequence from multiple genes. Internal transcript ITS is internal transcript spacer, which is a region of ribosomal DNA which is highly variable among species, making it because of its variability, it is making it useful for identification. Next, multiple genes DNA sequence analysis is a Calmodium, CAM, a gene encoding a protein that plays a various cellular roles used as phylogenetic evolutionary marker in fungal studies. Now, beta tubulin is a gene for a structural protein that is concerned among fungi, but with sufficient variation to be valuable for a species level classification. Next one is that analyzing DNA sequence for multiple genes RPB2, which is a RNA polymerase second subunit B. So it is a gene encoding a component of RNA polymerase 2, which is a crucial enzyme for the process transcription. DNA to RNA. Now, phylogenetic trees, evolutionary histories trees places A. Dhakel falkeri close to the A. Saccharomyces. Next one is the Patricia wilsri is related to A. Indologenous, A. japonicus, A. uvarum in the Japonicea series. So they are there is a phylogenetic relationship of these two Aspergillus species found in Western Ghats. So these relationship have clarified evolutionary links, past history links with a black Aspergilli. There is a first Indian records of other species. The study also documented Aspergillus aculeatinus and Aspergillus Aculeatinus and Aspergillus bruneo violens for the first time in India. So this expands knowledge about the distribution of black Aspergilli species in the Western Ghat region. About broader impact and future direction. So this research is the first by Indian team. It is first by Indian team to apply advanced integrative taxonomy on Aspergillus fungi. So it put stress on the Western Ghat as a reservoir of unique fungal species. So it continued, there is a continued exploration and conservation of this biodiversity in Western Ghats hotspot are vital for science and biotechnology. Next news is the United States Hellfire missile fails against UFO. So United States Hellfire missile fails again UFO. Recent development have stunned surprise Washington after United States Hellfire missile reportedly bounced off failed of an unidentified flying object near Yemen. So this incident was revealed during a 225 congressional hearing on unidentified anomalous phenomena. So the footage captured by this footage, the United States Hellfire missile fails again UFA distinction. So this footage is captured by a drone, and the name of the drone is a MQN Reaper drone in October 2024. So it shows a missile striking a glowing orbit but failing to detonate or damage the object, detonate or damage the object. So this event has raised urgent question about the capabilities of United States military technology and the nature of unidentified anomalous phenomena. UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena. Incidents took place in October 2024 and MEQ and Reaper drone tracked a luminous orb off Yemen's coast. Upon missile launch, the Hellfire missile struck the orb but deflected without explosion. But it was deflected without any explosion. The object remained unaffected and continued its path. The video was declassified and presented in a congressional hearing, drawing strong reaction from lawmakers and experts. About 2012 UFO encounter testimony. So at the same hearing, United Air Force veteran Dan Borling recounted a 2012 flight test near Langley Air Force Base. He described a silent 100-foot triangular craft with glowing lights and molten golden like surface. So Borland reported physical effects such as static electricity and phone overheating. So he also alleged carrier saptos following the incidents about the 2012 UFO encounter testimony. Next about the Hellfire missile capabilities. So AGM 114 Hellfire is a laser guided. It is a laser glided air-to-ground missile which was developed since 1972. Hellfire missile, AGM-114. It targets tanks, bunkers, helicopters, and slow aircraft. The missile measures about 1.7 meters in length and weighs around 45 to 48.5 kg. And the latest variant of this missile is AGM-114R. AGM-114R Hellfire Romeo, which combines multiple warhead types and can be launched from various platforms, and platforms are UAVs like MQ and Reaper. Significance: the missile failure to damage the UAP challenges current military assumption. It suggests that after the failure, the object possesses advanced defensive or evasive capabilities beyond known technology. Then in this incident intensifies demand for full disclosure of UAP data and renewed scientific inquiry into aerial phenomena. So UAP, just as you know about the UAP full form is Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. Now, next news is India's Blue Revolution transforms fisheries sectors. India's fisheries sectors had witnessed a remarkable transformation under the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana launched in 2020. As the scheme complete 5 years, the scheme name is Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. As the scheme completes 5 years, it has strengthened such sectors' ecological sustainability, economic viability, and social inclusiveness. Production has increased, infrastructure also improved, and thousands of livelihoods have been empowered. The government decision to extend the scheme through 2025-26 signals continued commitment to these vital sectors. About fish production, since 2013-14, fish production in India has more than doubled. It was doubled since 2013-14, reaching 195 lakh tons in 2024 and 25. Inland fisheries have grown even faster by 142%. This growth positioned India as the world's second largest fish producer. India becomes the second largest fish producer. This increase reflects improved farming methods, better infrastructure, and effective policy supports. About inland fisheries involve the extraction of aquatic organisms such as fish from freshwater and brackish water bodies on land, including river, lakes, pond, and reservoirs. So this sector is a crucial important for food livelihoods, income for millions, especially in countries like India, where it is forms the dominant part of fish production sectors. So inland fishery encompasses both capture fishing from naturally occurring stocks and aquaculture, which involves controlled farming methods like pond and cage cultures. Upon infrastructure and financial investment, this scheme has approved project and the amount is rupees 21,274 crore. Central government funding is 9,189 crore with 5,587 crore already released for implementation. Infrastructure development includes harbors, cold storage, and markets with rupees 17,210 crore allocated. These investment reduce post harvest losses and improve supply chain efficacy. About empowerment and digital integration, there is a digital integration also. So PMMSY has registered over 26 lakh fisheries and organization on the National Fisheries Digital Platform. So this digital backbone improve transparency and access to resources. Nearly 4.76 lakh Kisan credit cards have been issued with 3,214 crore disbursed for fisheries activities. So these measures improve financial inclusion and support small scale fisheries. About local success stories and social impact, at the grassroots, the scheme has empowered communities. For example, Kapil Talwar in Uttarakhand established a large biofloc fish farm with 40% subsidy and technical help. So this venture created many jobs for rural women and received livelihoods. So in Mandya district, 306 lakhs were developed, benefiting over 45,000 fishes with more than rupees 5 crore in financial aid. So Mysuru saw the release of 4 million fingerlings and subsidies to 742 beneficiary. About new initiative and sector formalization, in 2024, the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Kisan Samriddhi Sah Yojana was launched with 6,000 crore budget. So it focuses on formalizing the sector, expanding insurance coverage, and strengthening value chains. So training, cooperative formation, and modern market system are key to sustaining long-term growth. There are many challenges also. Challenges remain in technology adoption, climate resilience, and market access. So continued investment in research and innovation is required. Strengthening community participation and environment safeguard will ensure sustainable development of fisheries. Next news is indigenous Vikram 32-bit microprocessors. India recently revealed the Vikram 3201. It is a fully indigenous 32-bit microprocessor which is designed for space application, and the microprocessor is Vikram 32-bit. It is developed by ISRO with the Semiconductor Laboratory Chandigarh. This chip marks step towards self-reliance in semiconductor technology. So this processor is a 32-bit microprocessor. Indigenous Vikram 32 microprocessor is built to withstand extreme space condition, tolerate extreme space condition, will power critical function, and it will also power critical function in launch vehicles, space vehicles. Vikram 3201 microprocessor is a semiconductor microprocessor which is specifically designed for rockets and satellite. Most important point, it is the first Indian microprocessor fabricated at this scale and specification for launch vehicle avionics. Unlike consumer processor, it operates under harsh space conditions such as it can operate under extreme temperature, radiation, and vibration. So it succeeds Vikram 32 microprocessor succeed Vikram 1601 16-bit chip used by ISRO since 2019. So technical features and upgrades, the Vikram 3201 features a 32-bit architecture 32-bit architecture, which allows it to handle more data with higher precision. It supports 64-bit floating point operation, essential for accurate trajectory and guidance calculation. The processor is compatible with ADA programming language, so it's and widely used in aerospace for safety critical system. It also includes on-chip 1553B bus interface for seamless communication with other avionics modules. So it is fabricated using 180 nanometer CMOS technology. So it balances reliability and performance for space grade application. About operational testing and deployments, it is tested in space aboard the PSLV C60 mission. PSLV C60 mission, powering the mission management computer on the PSLV orbital experiment modules POEM4. This in-orbit validation confirmed its robustness and functionality. So the first production batches were handed over to ISRO in early 2025. It's handed over early 2025 to ISRO, signaling readiness for wider deployment in future mission. Next news is giant African snail invention. African snail invention. The giant African snail invention is one of the world's most invasive species, has recently been detected and seen in Chennai and its outskirts. And its outskirts. So it presents raises serious public health. It poses serious public health and ecological concern. The snail and as you know, the snail is known carrier of parasites that causes brain problem, brain inflammation, and other diseases in humans. Flooding because of heavy rains, flooding during monsoon season, worsen its spread and impact on the city, causes many health problems to the human. About spread in Chennai between September and November 2024, field survey confirmed population of Lischechina fluca at St. Thomas Mount, Tirusulam and Penungalathara hills. The snail grows in urban and semi-urban habitats. Flood waters during monsoon help disperse the snail, widely increasing the risk of parasitic infection among residents. About health risk and disease transmission, the snail is a vector for many parasitic nematodes like nematodes like Angiostrongylos cantonensis and Angiostrongylos costaricensis. The snail is a vector for parasitic nematodes, nematode like Angiostrongylos cantonensis and Angiostrongylos costaricensis. This parasite causes diseases. The name of the disease is eosinophilic meningoencephalitis, brain problem, brain inflammation, and abdominal angiostrongyliasis in humans. So this infection mainly occurs through infection of contaminated snails or their residues. So this disease poses as public health threats where the snail is present. About ecological and agriculture impact, Lischechina fulica feeds on over 500 plant species. This snail feed on Lischechina fulica feeds on over 500 plant species, including crops. So it competes with native snails and spreads plant pathogen. It help in spreading plant pathogen, also many disease causing microorganisms. So it voracious appetite causes severe damage to agriculture because it eats a lot, and it infect the crops and eventually it leads to the bad, it harms to the ecosystem. The snail's adaptability to various habitats makes it very difficult to control it because it able to adapt to various habitats. Now about the historical spread and global distribution, it is a snail is native to East Africa. The snail was introduced in India in 1847. Introduced to India in 1847. It is native to East Africa. It was native to East Africa. It is spread across several states of India, including Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Karnataka, South region. Globally, it has invaded many countries like Asia, Africa, and America, and the Pacific. The species is listed among the world's 100 worst invasive species due to its ecological and economic damage. It only causes ecological and economic damage. Control and management. There are many control and management challenges. The snail ability to survive in different environments and reproduce rapidly complicates eradication efforts. It's very difficult to remove it permanently. Flooding also increase its spread of a snail. Public awareness and monitoring are important to manage its impact. So strict regulation exists. It should be exist in some countries to prevent its sale and possession. Its sale should be prohibited. Significance of a snail is the snail's invasion marks the need for integrated pest management in urban areas. Marks the need for integrated pest management in urban areas. It exemplifies the risk invasive species pose to diversity, agriculture, and human health there. Chennai's experience puts stress on the importance of early detection and coordinated response to biological invention. Next news is Antarctic ice growth linked to early Indian monsoon. Recent research has revealed link between the formation of Antarctic ice about 34 million years ago and the early evolution of Indian monsoon system. So fossil leaves from Nagaland's Laesong formation so that the region once had a warm and wet climate. This discovery shed lights on how global climate change influenced the development of the monsoon, which is important for India's environment and agriculture. About fossil evidence, recent research, what they revealed, the link between the formation of Antarctic ice about 34 million years ago and the early evolution of Indian monsoon system. So, fossil evidence, scientists found well-preserved fossil leaves in Nagaland, it is dating back approximately 34 million years ago. This fossil indicated a warm and wet tropical climate in the region. So, using the climate leaf analysis multivariate program, researchers studied the leaf morphology, the leaf structure to reconstruct past climate condition. So, these results showed unusually high rainfall and temperature compared to the results show unusually very high rainfall and temperatures compared to climates. It is linked to Antarctic ice formation. The fossil age coincide with the period when the large ice sheets begin forming in the region Antarctica. So these global event triggered shift in wind and rainfall pattern also. The growth of Antarctic ice caused the intertropical convergence zone, a key rain belt to move from south pole towards the it moves toward the tropics. This shift brought intense monsoon rains to northeast India, driving the evolution of monsoon system. There are many impact also. The study suggests the Antarctic glaciation reshaped global climate system. So this altered position of intertropical convergence zone increased the tropical rainfall and temperature over the Indian subcontinent. So this created condition favorable for green forest, lush forest, and the establishment of strong monsoon. So this finding provided timeline for the early development of monsoon linked to global climatic events. About modern climate change implication, the research holds important lesson for climate scenario. Current Antarctic ice melt Current Antarctic ice melt due to global warming could again shift the ITCZ. Such changes may disturb monsoon patterns, affecting agriculture, water resources, and millions of people in India and neighboring countries. So it marks the interconnectedness of Earth's climate and the need for global climate action. So it is about modern climate change implication. Now about the global climate interconnection. This discovery emphasizes that climate events in one region can influence distant areas. Antarctic ice growth billions of years ago affected tropical rainfall in India. About this connection helps predicate how current and future climate changes may impact global weather systems. It underlines the importance of studying Earth's past. It underlines the importance of studying Earth's past to prepare for future challenges. Now, next news is about the Cross River gorilla. So the cross river gorilla remains one of the rarest primates in the world, one of the rarest primate in the world, which was found between Nigeria and Cameroon, which was fewer than 300 individual survivals. Conservationists face urgent challenges to protect this cross-river gorilla from extinction. So their unique habitat, social behavior, and the threats offer vital insights into Africa's biodiversity crisis. About habitat and distinctive features, cross-river gorilla live in mountainous forest along the Nigeria-Cameroon border. Key areas include Cross River Basin, Afi Mountains, MV Mountains, and Takamanda National Parks. So these regions are dense with rainforest and bamboo groves at elevation between 1500 and 3500 meters. So these remote habitats make sightings extremely rare. Scientifically named cross river gorilla named as gorilla dihli. Gorilla dihli. So they differ from other western gorilla by their brownish gray to black fur and red crest on their cone-shaped heads. Adult males develop silver patches on their backs, earning silverback title about the because of it is got the silverback title. About the social structure and behavior, this gorilla cross river gorilla live in a small group of 2 to 20 individuals. Each group is led by dominant silverback male who guides feeding, nesting, and protection. Nests are built from branches and leaves on the forest floor or in trees during the rainy season. Their diet consists mainly of leaves, nuts, berries, and lianas. They forage widely but they cause minimum crop damage, making them less of nuisance to local farmers compared to wild pigs. Pigs cause more damage. About conservation efforts, river gorillas are not found in zoos. It is not found in zoos since the last captive individuals died in 2016. Protection depend on sanctuaries such as the Afi Mountain Wildlife Sanctuary. These centers preserve habitat and support research and education. Ecotourism and wildlife documentaries raises awareness globally among people. Local international cooperation is important to prevent extinction of cross river gorillas. Now, next news is India launches indigenous multi-stage malaria vaccine. India has recently licensed multiple pharmaceutical companies to manufacture and commercialize its first Indian-made indigenous multi-stage malaria vaccine. Malaria vaccine. So it is developed by ICMR, in Indian Council of Medical Research, and its partner. The vaccine targets the malaria parasite before it enters the bloodstream. This vaccine offers a stable, affordable, and scalable solution effective for more over 9 months at room temperatures. Effective for over 9 months at room temperatures. So this development aims to reduce malaria transmission and burden in India and beyond. About the development and technology transfer, the name of the vaccine is Adfalsivax, is a recombinant chimeric multistage vaccine against dangerous malaria parasite Plasmodium falciparum, which is a fatal malaria parasite. Indian Council of Medical Research invited eligible companies for transfer of technology to facilitate large-scale production and commercialization. ICMR Regional Medical Research Center in Bhubaneswar led the technology development with the help of Lactococcus lactis as a production platform. Preclinical validation was done in collaboration with National Institute of Malaria Research and National Institute of Immunology, New Delhi. About the vaccine characteristic and benefits, the vaccine name is Advalsivax. It prevents the parasite from entering the bloodstream, thus blocking infection and its transmission. But this vaccine is affordable and stable at room temperature for over 9 months. Its provided stability reduces cold chain dependency, making it suitable for remote and difficult region. So it is a multi-stage design, targets different parasite life cycle phases, improving its efficacy. About malaria burden in India, India carries 1.4% of global malaria cases and 0.9% of global death because of malaria. It accounts for 66% of malaria cases in Southeast Asia and 52% of malaria deaths outside Sub-Sahara Africa. About 95% of Indian population lives in malaria endemic zones. Most cases occur in tribal and hard-to-reach areas where 20% of the population resides. So this vaccine could reduce disease burden, malaria burden in these vulnerable communities. Next news is India launches UPI UPU project for cross-border payments. Union Minister for Communication Jyoti Raditya M. Sindhya launched the UPI UPU integration project at 28 Universal Postal Congress in Dubai. So this initiative marks a major step in transforming international remittances by combining India's UPI with the Universal Postal Union's UPU interconnection platform. So it project aims to enable fast, affordable, and secure cross-border payments. Payments help in improving financial inclusion globally. About the background and recent developments, UPI Unified Payment Interface and Universal Postal Union integration project is a collaboration between India's Department of Post and PCI International Payments Limited and UPU. So it links India's real-time payment system UPI with UPO Global Postal Payment Network. So it reduces remittance cost and processing times, benefiting millions of families dependent on cross-border money transfers. What is UPI UPO integration? This project integrates two powerful systems. UPI is India's instant payment interface, which is used widely for domestic transaction for domestic transaction. UPU IP is a platform that connects postal service of 192 member countries. UPU IP is a platform that connects postal service of 192 member countries. So by merging this UPI UPU, the project offers a seamless channel for international payments, cross-border payments that is fast, secure, and cost-effective. So there are significance of these projects. It addresses key issues in international remittances such as high fees, slow transfer, and limited access. It expands financial inclusion. The project leverages India's extensive postal network and digital payment infrastructure to serve diaspora communities and reduce global remittance cost aligned with United States development goals. India's investment and global roles. India will invest $10 billion to strengthen global postal service, focusing on digital payments, e-commerce, and capacity buildings. So it plans to host regional workshops to ensure equitable participation worldwide. India candidature for UPO Council of Administration and Postal Operation Council reflects its commitment to advancing a connected and inclusive postal system. India's digital infrastructure model is the India success with UPI is built. India's success with UPI is built on strong digital public infrastructure that includes Aadhaar, Jan Dhan Yojana, and India's Payments Bank. Over 560 million accounts have been opened, mostly in women's names. So India Post delivered over 900 million letters and parcel last year, showing the scale of its networks. So this model formed the foundation of UPI UPU project's global ambition. There is an impact on cross-border remittances. UPI processed over 185 million transactions worth $2.83 trillion in 2024-25, nearly half of the world's digital payments. The UPI UPU link will make international remittances as simple as sending a text message. So these benefit the Indian diaspora and the other communities by enabling instant low-cost transfers. Postal administration gain new revenue, reinforce their community services. About global collaboration, India's leadership and partnership approach aim to avoid fragmentation and build interoperable solution. Next news is Emerging Science and Innovation Conclave replaces Indian Science Congress. The Department of Science and Technology will organize the first ever Emerging Science Technology Innovation Conclave in November 2025. So this event marks a major shift in India's scientific gathering. So ESTIC may replace Indian Science Congress. Emerging Science, Technology and Innovation Conclaves may replace Indian Science Congress, which has a long history but has recently lost importance prominence. The conclave aims to bring together top scientists, technologists, and innovators from India and abroad. From India and from abroad to discover cutting edge research and breakthroughs. About Indian Science Congress was established before India's independence. It was the oldest scientific congress in the country. Traditionally held in January, it attracted the Prime Minister and Nobel laureates. However, the event has faced many challenges recently. Indian Science Congress was not held in 2021-22 due to the pandemic. In 2023, the Prime Minister participated only virtually. In 24 and 25, 2024 and 25, the Indian Science Congress was cancelled due to disagreement between DST and Indian Science Congress Association. DST has withdrawn funding from ISCA. India International Science Festival. Since 2015, the government has supported the Indian International Science Festival. Indian International Science Festival is organized by various science department and Vijnana Bharati, a science popularization group linked to the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. So it focuses on popularizing science among students and youth. It is more of festival than a scientific forum. So it lacks participation from international Nobel laureate, and it does not usually have the Prime Minister physical presence, though it appears virtually. Introduction of ESTIC will be held at Bharat Mandapam from 3rd to 4th November 2025. So it involves all science-related minister, including atomic energy, space, and information technology. So this event will feature 11 thematic technical session and 75 exhibition stalled by deep tech staffs. So it aims to encourage dialogue on major themes in science, technology, and innovation. Nobel laureates Andre Zim, former French space agency head Jean-Yves Le Gall, and the Professor Masaru Tomita from Japan are expected to attend. So kindly remember these names. Vision of this ESTIC is to design to replace the traditional Indian Science Congress with a modern platform. So it seeks to showcase India's scientific leadership and innovation capabilities. The conclave aims to promote deep tech research and collaborative international engagement. Next news is India's first port-based green hydrogen project. India has taken a major step toward clean energy with the launch of its first port-based green hydrogen project at VO Chidambaram port in Tamil Nadu. So this project aims to reduce carbon emission and promote sustainable port operation. So it aligns with national goals under the Viksit Bharat 2047 mission and the Sagarmala program. It aligns with national goals under the Viksit Bharat 2047 mission and Sagarmala program. About green hydrogen pilot projects, this pilot project produces green hydrogen with a capacity of 10 nanometer cube per hour. It is established at a cost of rupees 3.87 crore. It powers street lights and electric vehicles charging station within port colony. So this initiative marks VO Chidambaram port as the first Indian port to generate green hydrogen on site. So the project supports India's clean energy transition and the coastal green shipping corridor between Kandla and Tuticorin. About green methanol bunkering facility alongside with hydrogen product, a foundation was laid from green methanol bunkering and refueling facility also. So this facility have a capacity of 750 millimeter cube and cost rupees 35.34 crore. So it will make VOC port a key hub for green bunkering in South India, promoting sustainable fuel use in shipping. About renewable energy and infrastructure development, so this port also expanded its renewable energy capacity with 400 kilowatt rooftop solar plants, bringing total rooftop solar power to 1.04 megawatt, the highest among Indian ports. So additional infrastructure projects include rupees 24.5 crore link conveys to improve coal handling efficiency by 0.72 million metric tons per annum. About VOC port strategic importance, it is located in Tuticorin on the Coromandel coast, is one of the India's 13 major ports. It plays important role in regional businesses, trade, coal handling, and container movement. It is renamed in honor of freedom fighter V.O. Freedom fighter, renamed in honor of freedom fighter V.O. Chidambaram. The port has been transformative growth under the Sagarmala program with over 16,000 crore invested in modernization and capacity enhancement. Significance, it serves as a major maritime hub for South India and handles coal containers and other cargo. So this port is undergoing significant modernization under Sagarmala program and has become a site for India's port-based green hydrogen pilot project. It is alignment with the national mission. This project support the government vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, which emphasizes speed, scale, sustainability, and self-dependence. This aim to position India amongst the world top shipbuilding nation by 2030, further by 2047. So this initiative are expected to generate employment, attract global investment, and enhance Tamil Nadu role in India's economic growth. About collaboration and future prospects, memorandums of understanding were signed between BOC Port and Indian Port Rail and Ropeway Corporation Limited for rail connectivity to the outer harbour project. So, another memorandum of understanding with NTPC focuses on green mobility initiative as the port. So, these collaboration with strengthen infrastructure and sustainability efforts. Next news is Wangachu Hydro Electric Project. The Adani Group and the Adani Group, India and the Indian Adani Group and Bhutan's Druk Green Power Corporation signed a landmark agreement in 2025 to develop a 570 megawatt Wangchu hydroelectric projects. This initiative marks step in India-Bhutan energy collaboration. So the project valued at rupees 6,000 crore. It will operate on a build, own, operate, transfer boot model. Built on operate transfer model. So construction is slated to begin in early 2026 and is expected to complete within 5 years. About Wangchu hydroelectric project is a run-over river scheme located on Wangchu River in Bhutan's Chukwu district. The river is a key tributary of the Brahmaputra. The project will house four turbines, each with capacity of 142.5 megawatt, collectively generating approximately 2,000 gigawatt hour annually. It aims to meet Bhutan peaks winter electricity demand and export surplus power to India's during summer month. Strategic partnership and investment. This project is the first under a memorandum of understanding signed in May 2025 between Adani Power and DGPC to jointly develop 5,000 megawatt of hydropower capacity in Bhutan. So the investment is rupees 6,000 crore, reflect a strong commitment to renewable energy development and cross-border cooperation. About economic energy impact, Bhutan currently generates 2,500 megawatt of hydroelectric powers. The Wangchu project will improve energy security by addressing seasonal demand fluctuation. It supports Bhutan target of reaching 25,000 megawatt electricity generation capacity by 2040. For India, it offers an opportunity to import clean energy, reducing dependence on fossil fuels. About operation model benefits, the model is a boot model, allows Adani Power to build, operate and on the project for fixed period before transforming ownership to the Bhutanese government. So it encourages private investment while safeguarding national interest. This project will generate employment also and infrastructure development in the region. Significance of this project, like Wangchu, have a smaller ecological footprint compared to larger dam reservoirs. So these projects align complying with sustainable development goals by promoting clean energy and regional cooperation. It also strengthens bilateral ties between India and Bhutan within the Himalayan region. Next news is India launches hydrogen powered train. The Indian Railways successfully tested a hydrogen powered train developed at the Integral Coach Factory in Chennai. This train will soon operate between Jind and Sonipat in Haryana. So it is a part of National Green Hydrogen Mission, which aims to produce 5 million metric tons of green hydrogen annually by 2020. So this plan supports India's goal of net zero emission by 2070. About hydrogen train technology, the train uses hydrogen fuel cell to generate electricity. Hydrogen is produced by 1 megawatt polymer electrolyte membrane electrolyzer in Jind. This electrolyzer splits water into O2 and H2 using electricity from renewable resources. The hydrogen is stored and used in fossil cell on the train. The fuel cell converts hydrogen back into water, producing electricity to power the train's motors. So this process releases zero carbon dioxide. About electrolyzer and fuel cell mechanism, electrolyzer use electricity to split electrolysis of water take place into hydrogen and oxygen. A polymer membrane allows only proton to pass through, separating hydrogen and oxygen gases. In the fuel cell, the reaction reverses. Hydrogen molecules split into proton and electrons. Proton passes through the membrane and combine with oxygen and electrons to form waters. The electron flows through an external circuit, generating electricity to run the trains. About the green hydrogen production, green hydrogen requires electricity from renewable sources like solar and wind. So these ensure zero carbon emission in hydrogen production. India plans to expand renewable energy capacity to meet the national green hydrogen mission targets. Innovative methods such as microbial electrolytic cells are also being explored. These uses microbes to generate hydrogen from organic waste, offering a sustainable alternative. About cost and material challenges, current catalyst used in electrolyzer and fuel cell include expensive metals like platinum and iridium. Research is ongoing to replace these expensive metals, platinum and iridium, with cheaper materials such as nickel, cobalt, and iron. Early successes include nickel-based electrodes developed by Indian scientists which perform comparably to platinum. Such advancement could lower cost and make green hydrogen more viable. India will become the fifth country after Germany, France, Sweden, and China to deploy hydrogen powered trains. After Germany, France, Sweden, and China to deploy hydrogen powered trains, the new train on the Jind Sonipat route can carry 2,638 passengers and reach speeds of 110 km per hour. It is powered by 1,200 HP engine. This initiative marks step towards sustainable transports and India zero carbon emission target by 2070. Next news is Technology Perspective and Capability Roadmap, TPCR 2025. India's Ministry of Defense has revealed the Technology Perspective and Capability Roadmap, TPCR 2025. This 15-year strategic plan focuses on strengthening India's nuclear deterrence and expanding drone warfare capabilities. The roadmap signals a shift towards integrated deterrence, combining advanced nuclear resilience, unmanned system, and electronic warfare. It aligns with India's goal of self-dependence in defense technology and prepares the armed forces for future multi-domain conflicts. About TPCR 2025, it is a comprehensive blueprint guiding India's Army, Navy, and Air Force. It outlines future technology needs and capability development up to 2040. The development encourages domestic industry and research institutions to align their innovation efforts with military requirements. It emphasizes indigenization to reduce foreign dependence Homemade, India will meet its own TPCR to reduce foreign dependence and enhance strategic autonomy. About nuclear deterrence enhancement, the roadmap prioritizes survivability of nuclear forces through advanced delivery platforms and command system. It includes nuclear command and control infrastructure upgrades and radiation detection tools. Mobile, there is a mobile decontamination units and unmanned group vehicles for CBRN reconnaissance are planned to strengthen defense against nuclear or chemical threats. There are expansion of drone warfare. So the army plans to acquire stealth drones with a 1,500-kilometer range and operational ceiling of 60,000 feet. These remotely piloted aircraft will carry electronic warfare payloads and NBC detection equipment. Loitering munitions with artificial intelligence enabled targeting and reusable warheads are set to improve precision strike capabilities. There are integrated surveillance and targeting drones will support mechanized forces on the battlefield. About counter drone and electronic warfare, TPCR 2025 addresses threat from hostile drone swarms. It proposes advancing jamming system, electronic denial zones with 15-kilometer radius to neutralize such attacks. So this marks the growing role of electronic warfare in modern combat scenarios. The plan also include artificial intelligence enabled cyber tools and quantum communication networks to boost cyber and space defense. About service-specific modernization, the Navy will deploy nuclear propulsion system and next-generation aircraft carrier with electromagnetic aircraft launch system (EMLS). It also introduced autonomous underwater vehicles with fast interceptor raft. Air Force Army aims to replace aging vehicles with 1,800 future-ready combat vehicles and procure light tanks for mountain warfare. Air Force will deploy laser weapons, stealth bomber drones, and high-altitude pseudo satellites for persistent surveillance. About cross-cutting technologies, over 500 hypersonic missiles with scramjet propulsion will be developed for all three services, enhancing strategic deterrence. AI, machine learning, digital twin simulation will enable predictive and data-driven warfare. Sustainability is integrated via green logistic and energy efficient system, reflecting a modern defense technology. Next news is Environment Audit Rules 2025, which we will learn in the next video. Kindly watch the next video.